What if Darth Vader raised Luke Skywalker? Let's start this story 3 years after Revenge of the Sith. Vader has been hunting down surviving Jedi relentlessly, and his recent mission has brought him back to the planet he hates the most, Tatooine. He and his team of Inquisitors walk through the streets, rummaging through shops and homes looking for the Jedi on their radar. Vader walks into a cantina, buzzing with music, and no one notices the Sith Lord walk in. He reaches out with the Force to listen to the conversations buzzing around the room, listening for any mention of a Jedi or the man they are looking for. But someone catches Vader's attention, something he didn't expect. The mention of a name, Ben Kenobi, and Vader's thoughts shift. It can't be a coincidence that there is another Kenobi on Tatooine. Could this be his old master? Regardless of how likely it is, he must investigate. He blasts the cantina band with the Force, and Force chokes the man who said Ben Kenobi's name, and demands he tells him where he is. The man struggles to get his words out first, and Vader drops the connection, and lets the man catch his breath, before Vader tells him that he must tell him something useful or it will cost him his life. The man panics, and tells Vader he doesn't know exactly where Ben is, but knows someone who will, the Lars family. Vader drops the man. It's all connected. It must be Obi-Wan. He wastes no time and heads to the Lars immediately. He walks forward to the entrance, and he casts a gaze towards his mother's grave, and realizes he failed her all those years ago. He promised on her grave that he wouldn't fail anyone he cared about again, but that's all he's done. He breaks through onto the Lars farm and lands down in the center. Owen and Beru rush to see what the noise was, when they feel true fear as they laid eyes on Vader. He senses 3 people are close by, and assumed the third is their father Klieg. He knocks Owen and Beru unconscious with the Force, and heads towards the third person, expecting to find Klieg, but instead he finds a 3-year-old baby in its cot. Vader looks down at the boy with his bright blue eyes, and senses he's strong in the Force. Who could this be? He goes back to Owen and Beru, who have just regained consciousness, and berates their minds with the Force, probing deep with the dark side to find out who the child is. And what he would see shocked him. Obi-Wan carrying the child and telling Owen that it is the son of Anakin Skywalker, his stepbrother, who recently died. Vader can't believe what he's seeing. Padme gave birth before she died, and he has a son. He goes deeper into their minds to find the location of Kenobi and disposes of the Lars. He takes his son Luke with him to his transport to leave with his medical droid whilst he sets off for Kenobi. He enters Obi-Wan's cave as he finds his old master making a desperate escape, but Vader stops him with the Force. He taunts Obi-Wan about how he's cut himself off from the Force, and because of this, has written his own death sentence. He pulls Obi-Wan towards him, and the two ignite their blades to clash back and forth. But Obi-Wan has only limited himself by distinguishing his connection to the Force, and Vader, full of hate, but also a reignited resolve finding his son, kills Obi-Wan, his former master, and the man who hid his son from him. Just before his old master's death, Vader taunted him by gloating that he found Luke, the son he tried to hide from him, but he failed, and this was the last thing Kenobi would hear. Vader disregards the other Jedi they've been sent to find, and leaves that to the Inquisitors with him, and Vader travels back to Mustafar with Luke. He brings the baby to his castle, and sets him up in a hidden room, known only to Vader, so no one will know of his presence. He must keep Luke hidden from the Emperor, who will want him all for himself. In the next couple of months, Bail Organa stops hearing from Obi-Wan, who missed the regular check-ins, so decided to visit him on Tatooine, only to find his bones in the center of his hideout cave. He shuddered when he saw this, and quickly traveled to the Lars farm to find the same, and no sign of Luke anywhere. He travels back to Alderaan and panics. He contacts Yoda through the secret channel they've kept all these years, and tells him about Obi-Wan's death and Luke's disappearance, that the Empire must have him. But now, Leia is the last hope of the Jedi Order. Obi-Wan's death saddened Yoda, but Organa was right. Leia was their only hope, and he tells Bail that in time he will train Leia. For the next few years, Vader uses the droids to raise Luke until he can begin his formal training in the dark side at 5 years old, when he can speak properly. Vader cares deeply for Luke and loves him with all his heart. He is the only memory of Padme left and his last surviving family. But that doesn't mean his training won't be hard, and must make Luke strong in the Force if they are ever to overthrow the Empire together. Vader told Luke early on that he was his father, and together they formed a strong bond. Vader would instill the philosophy of the dark side into Luke, to use his emotions, anger, and hatred to benefit him, to give him strength. Over time, his connection and mastery of the Force developed, and he was able to call upon its power when he desired. Vader started with lightsaber training early on, teaching Luke every form of lightsaber combat, and he mastered these one by one. But he favored Form 5, an aggressive style that suited a nimble but strong attacker. He slowly taught Luke various dark side abilities, even some he could not achieve, but gave him the knowledge through Sith holocrons and scrolls. He mastered Sith lightning, deadly sight, force drain, telekinesis, and many more. When he reached 12 years old, Vader brought Luke with him discreetly to hunt down some Jedi along with him, so he could witness the intensity of battle and attempt to display his skills in the heat of the moment. Luke watched in awe as his father dominated and conquered powerful Jedi masters, including Quinlan Vos and Eth Koth. Vader did this a few times over the years, and alongside his intense training with lightsaber-wielding droids, Luke became extremely battle-hardened. The day came when Luke was 16, when he bested his father in combat, cutting off his robotic arm and holding his blade to his throat. This was a proud day for Vader, and he knew the training of his son was complete. But throughout all of this, Vader and Luke maintained their father-son bond, and truly did love and care for each other. Luke was happy that Vader was his father, and was able to teach him everything about the Force. Vader was the only family Luke had ever known, and didn't remember the time with Kenobi or the Lars on Tatooine. But it was still paramount to hide Luke from Sidious, and this became harder and harder as his strength in the Force grew, and Vader was spending more time away from the Empire with his son. Vader had recognized that Palpatine had sent a few spies and detectives to track his movements and see what he was doing in his spare time, but Vader always noticed them before they could notice him, so made sure to curate his activities to show that he wasn't doing anything suspicious or that would garner unwanted attention. Yoda contacted Organa again, who organized Leia to be brought to Dagobah when she was 5 years old to begin her training in the Force. Yoda bestowed upon her all the knowledge of the Force from thousands of generations of Jedi, and her power quickly rose. Leia had an innate calmness to her, and connected to the serenity of being a Jedi. She learned all the Force powers Yoda could teach her, and she mastered various forms of lightsaber combat. She wielded a sapphire blue blade that mirrored her father's, and swung it with a dedicated precision. Yoda also educated Leia on the history of the Jedi, their downfall, and the role she would play in their redemption. To Yoda and Organa, they thought Anakin perished on Mustafar from what Obi-Wan told them, and never knew that he became the mechanical beast Darth Vader. Yoda knew that Sidious had given Anakin the title of Vader, but assumed he passed it on after his death. However, they never told Leia about Anakin's turn to the dark side, but instead used his memory as an honorable Jedi, hero of the Clone War, to inspire Leia into becoming a strong and powerful Jedi. Meanwhile, Luke's training concludes when he reached 18 years old, and Vader decided he's ready. His training might have finished, but his power has only just begun. Vader talks to Luke about the galaxy and his goals, to overthrow the Emperor, and for them to take control over the galaxy together, as father and son. Luke was excited when he heard this, and shares his father's ambitions, and they begin planning for their attack. Leia joins the rebels in 2 BBY, once she has completed her training alongside Yoda, and they meet the other Jedi, Ahsoka, Kanan, Ezra, Caloran Bek, Ser Junda, and Cal Kestis. At this time, the rebellion is at full strength, and fights back against the oppressive Empire as hard as they can. The Emperor had Vader working extra hard during this time, and tells his son Luke, who's fully trained in the dark side, that the time for their ascension to the throne is near. There are 2 more years of all-out war, clashes between the Jedi of the Rebellion and Vader's Inquisitors, until we reach the time of Rogue One, where the rebels discover the Death Star, and that there is a flaw in its plan located on Scarif. The Scarif campaign begins, and alongside the Jedi's assistance, they successfully steal the Death Star's plans, and sends them back to Rebel command. Vader's fleet arrives to attack the rebels, but this was too late, and can sense the rebels will make their grand attack soon. Vader contacts the Emperor to tell him of the rebels and their victory, and the Emperor commands Vader to join him by his side on his command ship, and away from the rebel invasion. Vader knows that now is the opportunity he and Luke have been looking for, and goes to Mustafar to retrieve him. Vader brings all his Inquisitors with them, but kills one of them, and has Luke wear their armor and helmet so that he's unrecognizable to the Emperor, and doesn't think anything of him. They congregate on the Emperor's ship as the rebels come out of hyperspace with their entire fleet, ready to destroy the Death Star and make a dent in Palpatine's empire. They release various squadrons of X and Y wings that pass by the largest ships to attack the Death Star, but a small squadron of ships head towards Palpatine's command ship, and they can no doubt sense the Jedi on board. But Palpatine invites them in, and knows this is the best chance to wipe them all out once and for all. The Jedi land in the hangar, and make their way through the ship's corridors, taking out many stormtroopers until they reach Palpatine's throne room. He invites them in eagerly, and takes note of one Jedi, a female, unknown to Palpatine, the daughter of Anakin Skywalker, and he alongside Vader can sense she's the strongest of the bunch, even stronger than Master Yoda. The room is quickly thrust into battle, as Yoda takes on Sidious, whilst Vader takes on Ahsoka, whilst the Inquisitors accompanied by Luke take on the rest. Luke inherently clashed with Leia, and the two felt drawn together in the Force, as Luke released a hold on his power and unleashed every ounce of darkside energy in his body. Luke was surprised with Leia's strength in the Force, and he was unable to pierce her defenses as easily as he thought. Vader also noticed the strength of Leia in the Force, and realized it matched Luke's, and they were both equal. Luke felt something was off through the Force when their blades clashed, and felt a connection to Leia that he couldn't put his finger on. The battle between Sidious and Yoda raged on, but there had to be a clear victor this time. However, Yoda's age had only weakened him, whilst Palpatine has only grown stronger in power, and he cuts down the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. Vader sensed this as it happened, and Palpatine rides in the death of Yoda, and mocks the Grand Master's death for the whole battlefield to hear. But Vader was on top of him before Palpatine could realize, as Vader's dark crimson blade arced straight for Palpatine's neck, as the Emperor was too caught up in his victory, that he didn't notice the betrayal until the last second. But it was too late, as Vader decapitated the Emperor, and his body slumped to the ground. Vader orders Luke to capture Leia, but kill the rest, as he joins his son in murdering the remainder of the Jedi Order, including his own Padawan Ahsoka and the other Jedi that remained. Together they quickly joined their fleet and assisted in the defense of the Death Star, stopping any rebel ships from getting close to the weak point and forcing the Rebel Alliance to retreat. But before this, they successfully captured Leia, and after the rebels retreated, they visit her in the Dreadnought's prison. She was exceptionally strong in the Force, and was resistant to both Luke and Vader's mind probes, and knew she must have been trained by Yoda for many years. But Luke cracks one shell in her mind, as he sees the planet Alderaan, which gives something for Vader to investigate. He goes there immediately, to confront Bail Organa, who was extremely close with the Jedi Order, and he no doubt knows something. He denies that he does, but Vader easily probes his mind, and navigates it to find the truth. Leia is also Vader's daughter, and the twin sister to Luke. Vader gets angry at himself for not realizing the resemblance in Leia sooner, but he's overjoyed that he has another child, and the memory of his fallen wife Padme lives on further. He wishes he'd found Leia earlier, before the Jedi got to her and corrupted her mind. But no matter, he'll find a way to appease her. But he decides to taunt Organa a bit. He takes off his helmet momentarily to tell Bail that he's Anakin Skywalker, Luke and Leia's true father, and he thanks the senator for bringing his family back together. Organa's eyes go wide as the words are trapped in his throat as Vader carries him to his ship. He goes back to the Imperial command ship and tosses Bail into Leia's cell. She quickly hugs him and calls him father, which angers Vader, who commands Bail to tell her the truth. He looks at Vader in fear as he looks towards Leia in shame. Vader orders that if he doesn't tell her, then he will. And Bail tells her the truth, that her father, Anakin Skywalker, turned to the dark side to become Darth Vader, and also had another son, Luke, her twin brother. Leia could not comprehend this in the moment, and told Bail that he must be lying. But Vader chimed in, and told her to reach out with the Force, and she would know it to be true. She did this, but so did Luke, who was just as shocked as Leia, to realize he had a sister, and it now makes sense what he felt during their battle. Tears begin to trickle down Leia's face, as Bail turns to Vader, telling him it doesn't have to be this way, but before he can finish his sentence, Vader snaps his neck, as Leia's eyes widen in horror. He kneels down next to Leia, and asks her to join them, and together their family can rule the galaxy until the end of time. But she refuses, and kicks Vader away, who tells her that in due time, she will come to her senses. Both Vader and Luke tried for months to reason with Leia, turn her to the dark side with the allure of family, and their united control of the galaxy. But Leia never budged. Her resolve remained strong, and Vader realizes she's been a Jedi for too long, and no promises can change this. So he has to resort to desperate measures, as he tells Luke about an ancient Sith ritual that he's read about that was used in the past by Emperor Vitiate to corrupt the minds of those strong in the Force to the dark side. He shares the readings with Luke and they begin the ritual. They render Leia unconscious with strong medication and sit either side of her in Vader's meditation chamber on Mustafar. They begin chanting in the ancient Sith language, reciting the incantations that turned Valen, daughter of Valkorion, to the dark side thousands of years ago. They could feel the light slowly leaving her as they fueled their own dark side energy into her. The candles around them went out as Leia's eyes began to glow a bright red. The Sith continued chanting, harder and more intense, as they could tell the ritual was working, erasing all the kindness and empathy within Leia to replace it with the same hatred that fueled Luke and Vader. Leia's eyes settle from a glowing red to the terrifying yellow of a Sith Master as Leia rises and looks forward towards her father and brother now on their side. If you enjoyed this video, you have to watch What If Ahsoka and Obi-Wan joined Anakin, or What If Anakin never turned to the dark side animation. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you thought of the video. Make sure to check out our membership program if you wish to support the channel, and may the Force be with you.